Good morning, Galaxy, from the beautiful mountainous slopes of Alderaan. Cal, King of the Kill Order here with an exclusive counter of my own design to what I consider to be the strongest non-galactic legend defense squad right now. That is this Commander Luke Skywalker Cobra Kai team. I call them Cobra Kai because they strike first, they strike hard, and they show no mercy. Well, I present to you Miyagi Training Ray. This team will give you the defense needed to crane kick CLS out of the competition. Before going any further, big thanks to my guildmate Combo for helping design my channel banners and profile pic. I appreciate that very much. So here's the kill order for this video today. First, we will tackle why this Jedi Training Ray team works where so many other counters can fail. Next, we fight live in arena and discuss how to play the battle and adjust for RNG of who Han shoots first. After that, we break down the modding and zetas for this team. And finally, I have footage of various battles with each possible starting condition. So I'm currently 22 or 23 wins in 23 battles using this strategy. And a couple of those were wins even though I had some misplays. So you've probably experienced why this Cobra Kai squad is so deadly. The opening 4 attacks from Han shoots first can kill most characters outright. Each of those attacks has an expose plus another debuff, and you have a plethora of other debuffs on the team. If these debuffs get resisted, the CLS team gains turn meter and can run all over you. So in the GAC data, it shows that the only 100% successful counters are Galactic Legends, and anything more than 80% successful is either something with a Galactic Legend, or Darth Revan with Malik, or Gas 501st, or a couple of Jedi Knight Luke teams. Now I've seen Beskar Mando can work very well against the CLS team, but most of us don't have him geared yet. And then there's also a Shock lead clones, but that team demonstrates the RNG problem here. If Han targets Shock T first, it's pretty much a loss. But if he attacks any of the clones, you're probably good for a win. So you can see that reflected in the success rate here, 74.7% last season of 5v5. So wouldn't it be nice if there was a consistent counter that can win regardless of who Han shoots first, and doesn't require these other characters that we would like to use to counter Galactic Legends or on teams with Galactic Legends. So that is where Miyagi or Suresu Training Ray comes in. Now Suresu being the lightsaber form practiced by Obi-Wan Kenobi, which features an impenetrable defense, and Miyagi-Do Karate has a similar mentality.
These rules to karate. Rule number 1, karate for defense only. Rule number 2, first learn rule number 1.
This team was inspired by how easily I could counter CLS-Chew3po and C3PO in 3v3. Plus, Jedi Training Ray was the meta to replace the original CLS meta. This is before Chewie, C3PO, and Chewpio had come out. So this squad has 5 sources of debuff cleansing, which is really important. 6 sources of turn meter gain, 5 sources of healing and protection recovery, 3 sources of turn meter removal, 3 daze abilities, 2 stuns, tenacity down, healing immunity, ability block, 3 counters, and with lots of attacks out of turn. Plus, they can absorb and evade a lot of damage. All this allows you to outpace the CLS team after the initial shots and progressively gain control of the battle as they feed your turn meter. Alright, let's show you this team in action. Now, as a fair warning, this counter is not for the faint of heart. A lot is happening at once and can be a wild ride at the start. I've slowed it down to 2 times so we can see a little bit more. I'm going to talk through this. So that's the ideal start where Han shoots Nest, because then you can go right into Mark 1 with L3, and Rey's going to gain a bunch of turn meter. If Rey is shot first, that's the roughest start. If BB-8 or R2 are shot first, then you'll almost always need to do L3 Spark of Hope to heal them as the first turn, and you might not, make it to Mark 1 depending on how the battle goes, but that's okay. So you're always gonna wax on Chewbacca.
Wax on.
And he has some tenacity and resisted that, but we should be okay. If R2 was stunned, I would have to cleanse R2 so that I can get everyone stealth. But since R2 was not stunned, I'm gonna, call BB-8 for the extra attack and the tenacity down, which will help deal with that tenacity Chewbacca. I'm gonna stealth everyone but Nest, so they have to wail on her. Keep going after Chewie. Chewpio in my testing has always opened with his AoE, which is good. That works well for us. Since Chewbacca's already stunned, I'm going to try to land a stun on Chewpio, which didn't work, but that's alright. I'm going to keep the taunt going for L3, because she'll be able to cleanse Nest. Even if Nest is stunned, L3 will cleanse her before her first turn.
Wax off.
Now what we really need here is to get Chewie down before Nest's turn. Perfect. That allows us to daze everyone with Nest with her opening move. So that's, if you have a faster Nest, you could cycle back around. I find even if Chewie is still alive, it's still best to do the AoE, I think, for the turn meter removal. But definitely if you can have Chewie dead before you do that, that's great, because now they're all dazed and it should be pretty easy from here. No counters, no bonus turn meter, and they're pretty much locked in. I'll usually go after Chewpio next, but it kind of depends. If he's ability blocked or stunned, I might just take out one of the other two. Keep smoke screening everyone but Nest. Keep spreading the dazes and stuns, and this battle is easily in hand. So I still haven't, I'm going to talk about it in modding next, and with L3 I have a crit avoidance arrow on her just from what I had before, but I think this will do even better once she has either a protection primary arrow or a defense primary arrow. So there you go. Easily won that battle. Now let's talk zetas and modding. All of the zetas here are really important, except for really Nest zeta. You don't really need to ignore taunt, and health steal isn't really going to be that important for her here. I don't think it'll make or break any match. But starting with Jedi Training Rey, she is the engine for this counter, and all of her zetas are really important. You need the turn meter gain and removal and exposes from her lead with the cooldown reduction. You need her to start with foresight and to heal when she evades, and get to that crit damage up and crit chance up faster. And this is the most important ability that, she's gaining all this turn meter from all these debuffs, and you need her to be able to cleanse herself in particular, if Han shoots her first, this is what will keep her alive. So when each of the basic attacks in Han's opening have 2 debuffs. And so each of those attacks, if the debuffs aren't resisted, there's a 36% chance that she doesn't cleanse the debuffs. And, or a 64% chance that she will cleanse. So odds are you're pretty safe that she'll cleanse, some of those debuffs in the opening. If she doesn't cleanse any of them, that's really low likelihood, but you could lose Rey outright at the start there. But that's a 20% chance Han shoots her, plus, and I haven't done all the math, but 36 times 36 times 36 times 36, 10% chance that, all his exposes land and aren't resisted. And anyway, so low chance of that happening. Now, you do have to have, I would say either R7 or high relic with good modding. I have just kind of the average level mods that I've had on this team for a long time. Since I started practicing, I've added a couple of 6-dot mods because I wanted to make it even more secure, but I was winning without all those 6-dot mods at the start. You need BB-8s, healing Zeta. That one's not necessarily as important, but it could make a difference. It did in, I think, a couple of my matches. And you definitely need his attacking out a turn, because one thing this team is kind of on the verge of is not having enough offense. R2, you absolutely need the stat sharing, as well as the cleansing of debuffs to help keep your team alive and well. And then a lot of people aren't going to be happy about this one, but L3 Zeta for the droids, this, may not be needed if Han shoots someone other than R2 or BB-8, but if he shoots R2 or BB-8, odds are he would have otherwise killed them were it not for this Zeta. So this is really critical to keep those droids alive. And what allows you to handle, all of the potential targets for Han's opening shot. As far as modding, I just have my normal mods on Enfys Nest, which is slow and tenacious. However, this is not really optimal for this counter. It's worked fine. I'm not going to change it, I don't think, for this counter, but ideally you want no tenacity on this team so that, because you're going to be cleansing debuffs like crazy, and the debuffs are going to be feeding Rey's turn meter, and any resists are going to feed CLS team turn meter. So a healthy Rey, a healthy Nest, and with some potency would be optimal, but this has worked fine for me. I would say you could do this with Gear 12 Nest if she has enough health to survive the opening shots from Han, which is not a guarantee. And for Rey, I've had speed and potency on her for a while. I think it's really important to have some offense or crit damage, because this team is a little bit on the weak side on the offense. And you kill with a combination of healing immunity and exposes and repeated attacks, but it's a little bit light on offense. So I did give her potency primary as well as a potency offset, and I think there's a lot of potency on this team. You could probably sacrifice some potency to increase survivability or offense, but you do, it does make things run a lot smoother when you land those dazes and ability blocks from Rey. And the CLS team can't have a lot of tenacity often. Everybody on this team besides Ness should have a protection circle. The exposes do max health damage, as well as Chewie does bonus max health damage. So you want to maximize the protection. For BB-8, I have 3 protection primaries, and he can take Han's opening shot without triggering L3 Savior typically. R2, I haven't changed his mods, and I've been debating it. I've added a couple of 6.1s since I started testing, but have a potency. Again, landing those dazes, debuffs, is pretty important. I have offense. This is kind of what I've always had, but I think I'll probably replace this with the protection primary, because I've almost lost Ray once, and R2 will have Savior triggered if he's targeted. So a little bit more protection to be shared, may be better than the offense. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And then L3, defense and protection. She gets bonus protection in her kit. So lots of protection here helps to keep her alive, and she's going to be dispelling the exposes. Now, this is not optimal. I have a crit avoidance arrow. If L3 gets to her Mark II state and Chewie's dead, then they're not going to be really critting L3 anymore with a crit avoidance arrow. However, there's so much crit chance on the CLS team, especially with Han and with Luke, that they're going to crit her probably anyway. Solo base would definitely scowl at this crit avoidance arrow, and for that reason. And so I think I'll put a protection primary on her in the arrow. Begin to, just absorb more damage since this crit avoidance arrow is not doing a lot at the start. And what really matters is the start. If halfway through the battle it becomes increasingly in your favor, the first few turns is where it's kind of the wild ride. So, all right, and then I'm going to put some footage next of all the potential starts, and you can watch them for yourself. And I hope that you find this successful. This is a team, you're countering a top level team, so you can't go really short on the relics. The modding, I'd say, is kind of average. My speeds were nothing crazy, but getting some defense and offense, 6-dot mods will definitely make this safer and easier. So, hope you enjoy.